Discernment. This is what the glorious St. Paul taught when he said in his letter that you should mortify your body and put to death your selfish will. In other words, learn to keep your body in check by disciplining your flesh when it would war against the spirit. Your selfish will must be in everything be slain, drowned, subjected to my will, and the knife that kills and cuts off all the selfish love to its foundation in its selfish will is the virtue of discernment. For when the soul comes to know herself, she takes for herself what is her due. Hatred and contempt for sin and for her selfish sensuality. If you can't act so, you will be my delight, offering me not only words but many works. For as I have told you, I want few words but many works. I say many rather than giving you any number, because when a soul is grounded in charity, which gives life to all virtues, her desire must reach the infinite. As for words, I said I want few, not because I have no use for them, but to emphasize that any act in itself is finite and can please me only if taken as an instrument of your virtue, not as virtue in itself. Let no one therefore make the judgment of considering those great penitents who put much effort into killing their bodies more perfect than those who do less. I have told you that penance is neither virtuous nor meritorious in itself. Were that the case, how unfortunate would be those who for legitimate reasons cannot perform actual works of penance. But the merit of penance rests completely in the power of charity enlightened by true discernment. I am the supreme eternal truth, so discernment sets neither law nor limit nor condition on the love it gives me, but it rightly sets conditions and priorities of love where other people are concerned. The light of discernment, which is born of charity, gives order to your love for your neighbor. It would not permit you to bring the guilt of sin on yourself to benefit your neighbor, for that love would indeed be disordered and lacking in discernment, which would commit even a single sin to redeem the world from hell or to achieve a great virtue. No, neither the greatest of virtues nor any service to your neighbor may be bought at the price of sin. The priorities set by holy discernment direct all the soul's powers to serving me courageously and conscientiously. Then she must love her neighbor with such affection that she may bear any pain or torment to win them to the life of grace, ready to die 1,000 deaths if that were possible for their salvation, and all her material possessions are at the service of her neighbor's needs. Such is the work of the light of discernment born of charity. So you see, every soul desirous of grace loves me as she ought, without limit or condition, and with my own infinite love she loves her neighbor, with the measured and ordered charity I have described, never bringing on herself the evil of sin in doing good for others. St. Paul taught you this when he said that charity cannot fully profit others unless it begins with oneself. For when perfection is not in the soul, whatever she does, whether for herself or for others, is imperfect. It could never be right to offend me infinite good under the pretext of saving my finite creation. The evil would far outweigh any fruit that might come of it. So never for any reason must you sin. True charity knows this, for it always carries the lamp of holy discernment. Discernment is the light which dissolves all darkness, dissipates ignorance, seasons every virtue and virtuous deed. It has a prudence that cannot be deceived, a strength that is invincible, a constancy right up to the end, reaching as it does from heaven to earth, that is, from knowledge of me to knowledge of oneself, from love of me to love of one's neighbor. Discernment's truly humble prudence evades every devilish and creaturely snare, and with unarmed hand, that is through suffering, it overcomes the devil and the flesh. By this gentle, glorious light, the soul sees and rightly despises her own weakness, and by so making a fool of herself, she gains mastery of the world, treading it underfoot with her love, scorning it as worthless. When the soul has thus conceived virtue in the stirring of her love, and through her neighbors proved it, and for their sakes brought it to birth, not all the world can rob her of that virtue. Indeed, persecutions only serve to prove it and make it grow. But for that very reason, were the soul's virtue not evident and luminous to others in the time of trial, it could not have been conceived in truth. For I have told you clearly that virtue cannot be perfect or bear fruit except by means of your neighbor.